I remember in 2015,
Wow.
my wife and I moved to
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, and we started attending a church, and turned out the same church that you and your family were attending at the time.
Mhm.
And I remember, for whatever reason, there was something about you and
Mm.
seeing you in that church. And I remember walking in and being like, oh my gosh, there's a goodness there.
Mm.
There was like a light. It's like the divine spark. It's like the Spirit of God is in that person. And I just think that I was always in some way just kind of like, I just looked at you, and we've never really sat down and had like a long form conversation.
Yeah.
But I've always
here we
just
are.
had this, like, when you're in the room, there's a sense of positivity. There's like an attraction that I think everybody feels to the glory of God that's inside you and how you manifest that. For several reasons, our family decided to stop practicing at that church, and we started going to Amplify, and we went to a concert at the East Campus. And it was the lady from Jesus Culture,
Kim Walker Smith.
Kim Walker Smith. Go into that, and I don't think I had seen you since we had not gone to the other church. And I remember walking in, and in like the hallway or the atrium, whatever, I remember seeing you, and I literally told Abby this morning. I remember looking at Abby and be like, "Oh, she's here."
Wow.
Like I couldn't even get your name, and I remember in that feeling, be like, "Oh, there's something good that's here now."
Wow.
And I just feel like that to share, like that has been my impression, and of like just seeing you and kind of knowing you peripherally, that you've just always carried this incredible spirit of like power, of life, of joy, of the fruits, right? You know?
Oh, that is so kind. Yeah.
And I think the opportunity to have you be a part of this conversation where we are going to talk about the Holy Spirit, I'm just so excited to see what your experience is and where you go with that.
Wow.
But anyway, sorry, I derailed.
No?
Wow.
What were you going to say?
That was a great,
Wow.
that was a
Yeah,
great interjection.
we should sit down sometime and talk
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
time, because I would say I'm even a completely different follower of Christ even since then. And to know, it's the humility and it's the grace and it's the mercy of God, to think even at that point in my life when I was so unaware that he was present in that way, that you were aware.
Struck.
And that's wild. That is wild.
Yeah. And that's healthy because we grow in our wisdom and understanding and our revelation and the knowledge of him through time. So
Wow.
it's like that progression that's just, I think if we're aligned with the will of God, that's a natural and good progression to say, like, where I am today, man, I am so much deeper than where I was 8 years ago.
Right.
But it is something you need to know too and be affirmed in, that even at that time in your life, whatever God's presence was working in you was still very visible, and probably has been maybe since you were born, maybe since you started following Christ, but that was just, you're a dynamic personality and person to be in a room with, and it's awesome.